loops it down there, and wide open. Then the ball is knocked loose. The catch is made, and then the ball is knocked out of his hand.
From Sachin Tendulkar to Virat Kohli.
You are lifting weights?
Correct. Does it not look like it?
Oh, the ball is free. Scooped up by Stroud. Circles, throws, complete on a busted play. Hutchinson.
It's Justin Herbert.
Hey, Buzz Lightyear.
I love this shit. I'm gonna smile all day. Hey, cause it's fun when I whoop a man's ass.
All right, welcome back to the Bolts podcast. My name is Nick Cates. My pronouns are he and him. And it's time to take a deep breath, a nice big exhale, because the Chargers survived in Miami on Sunday, a 29-27 victory over the Fins. Whew. Really nice to win that one. Another clutch winner from Dicker, the kicker, Cameron Dicker. I think he's the most accurate kicker in NFL history. Certainly, he hasn't missed any field goals since the time I was told that, so he has to still be, right? And, of course, that was set up by an excellent drive, headlined by a 40-plus yard completion from Justin Tlaib, where Justin basically just stood there and used his strength to evade a sack. So excellent clutch play from the Chargers. We saw that in the Broncos game. We saw that in the Chiefs game. We saw it again on Sunday against the Dolphins. This is really important. These are the types of plays we're going to need to make in big games later in the season. It's really good to see us making these plays, and it's really good to see Cameron Dicker continuing to hit these game-winning field goals and all the other field goals he's trying to. So, excellent stuff. Great news, nobody really got injured in this game, which is huge. I think we got some better preparation from a training perspective. Maybe we just got lucky. I know Dante Jackson exited the game briefly due to a slight injury, but he ended up coming back. So that's really huge news. Not adding to the injury report after the last few weeks is really awesome, and especially on the offensive line. And staying with the offensive line, Justin only actually got sacked one time, which is huge. A lot of credit here goes to Greg Roman calling some bootlegs and screen passes and quick timing pass plays that were really, really effective in both getting the ball out of Justin's hands and getting Justin out of the pocket. So it's much harder for the Dolphins pass rush to get to him. I also do want to give some credit at right tackle. The Chargers brought in Bobby Hart. Now, he didn't have the greatest time in the run game for sure, and he definitely did commit a couple of false start penalties, but I gotta say, every snap I was watching him in pass protection, he was holding up really solidly. As number 66, Bobby Hart, he played his first game in a number of years on Sunday for the Chargers. He looks like he could be a solid backup tackle. He's one of the best ones I've seen in the last few years play for the Chargers, that's for sure. So, as much as he did have his deficiencies, I'm definitely sold on Bobby Hart more so than everybody else that I've seen lining up to back up Pipkins at right tackle. So that's good to see. Bradley Bozeman, unfortunately, still kind of mid. I don't know what to do. I think it might be time to call, like, maybe the Etsy witches can put like a positive spell on Bradley Bozeman, help him get his mojo back. I don't know. They've been effective in subduing Harrison Butker so far this season, at least according to my TikTok comment section. So maybe I need to go on Etsy and pay those witches some money to help out Bradley Bozeman, because he certainly needs the help. And I don't think Jimbo's going to replace him at center. I will also say, to the credit of the offensive line, we, I think, had our best run blocking game of the entire season. This is best evidenced by Kimani Vidal, our third-string running back, really fourth-string running back, wasn't even on the team, was cut from the team before the season. Not only did he have a massive game. He had a bigger game than he had all of last year. He had the biggest game of his entire career, 18 rushes for 124 yards, and I think he had 14 yards receiving as well as a touchdown catch. Wow. Somehow this line really got it together to run block. I think also a lot of credit needs to go to Uncle Will Dissly, who was back. He's been having a great season blocking at tight end, and Tucker Fisk as well, doing some really good blocking. I really hate to say this, but we had our best run blocking game of the year, and it was the one game of the year that Scott Matlock was inactive. So the blocking did improve. So I won't lay it on too thick, but I'm sorry, Scott. I think you gotta be replaced with Steve O'Klotz at this point. That's all I'll say because the blocking did improve. So now the one big negative of the offensive line was they did allow Justin to get hit 7 times, unfortunately, and that was kind of comparable. I think the commies hit him 9 times last week, so that wasn't super different, but the one sack really did help strategically and in terms of play calling. And he was able to overcome the rush to really be himself again. He went 29 for 38 for 264 yards and 2 touchdowns. Classic Justin Herbert. And the main beneficiary, considering that this season's best receiver so far, Quentin Johnston, was also out, the main beneficiary ended up being a certain Ladd McConkey, who has struggled a little bit so far to start the season. Not today. 7 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, and that huge catch and run that I mentioned that set up Cameron Dicker for the game winner. Ladd is back. He looked like same Ladd that we saw last season. Excellent. I think this is going to be a huge confidence-building game for him, and hopefully we should get Q back for the game against the Colts, and I look forward to seeing him working with an even more confident Ladd McConkey. And another player who had his biggest game of the year and actually had to overcome some adversity was Oronde Gadsden. Oronde had 7 catches for 68 yards, and he actually overcame a lost fumble early in the game. So that was really, really good to see him keep his confidence through obviously a tough moment, and to have Justin continue to keep his faith in Oronde, keep giving him targets, and he paid off those targets. So I think we're going to have an even more confident receiving core going into the game against the Colts, and that's going to be huge because we're going to need all the points we can get on Sunday. Now, the defense was very up and down. They did make some of their best plays all season, absolutely, but there were also some momentary lapses that nearly ended up canceling all of that out. The best stat I can give you to exemplify this, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, who I know I remember being at a Chargers home opener a couple of years ago and watching him completely tear our secondary apart. So he went 21 of 32, which is not excellent, for only 205 yards and a TD, and he threw 3 interceptions. So I think you offer the Chargers that stat line at the beginning of the game, they're going to take it. Here's the problem. We still only won this game by 2 points. What made this up for the Dolphins? Well, it was an early deficiency against outside run. And I know I talked about last week how we might end up fixing the offensive line issues pretty well and having something else completely different to complain about next week. Well, guess what? Here it is. I talked about this a little bit last week because we saw it a little bit with Bill Krosky-Merritt, but even more with the even faster Devon Achane. Holy crap. We had some deficiencies against the outside run that we need to look at. Devon Achane went totally crazy. He had 16 carries for 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. We did a much better job of containing him to the outside in the second half. He did score another touchdown going around the outside, but he wasn't breaking off big runs. I know he broke off a touchdown run of the first touchdown run that he had the first half. He was basically untouched as soon as he got around the edge. It certainly is going to need to remain a point of emphasis because no respite for the Chargers in terms of elite running backs. We got Jonathan Taylor next week. So Hopefully, they will be able to take some of that momentum that they got in the second half, doing a better job defending Achane, and bring that into the Colts game. I will say, though, our new trade acquisition from the Ravens, Odafe Owe, he is great. And I have to say, what a clever move from Chef Joe Ortiz to distract from the deficiencies on the O-line by making our defensive line great. I guess it's easier to forget how much Justin is being hurried when we can also hurry the other team's quarterback. So Odafe Owe didn't have a sack going into the game, but he had his first sack in the season and as a Charger, as well as 2 QB hits. And so did our leading edge rusher, Tuli Tuipulotu, also had a sack and 2 quarterback hits. So they look great together. It's great news considering that the Chargers may relatively soon need to find a successor to Khalil Mack. He may already be here. So great stuff from Odafe Owe. So that's basically all for the Bolts and the Fins. Obviously a huge win, as I said last week. Going to be a confidence builder for the whole team. I think it was a confidence builder for the offensive line, which is the most important thing because definitely low on confidence after the previous 2 games. And looking ahead to the Colts next week. Now, the Colts have a very high-powered offense. Former Giants quarterback Daniel Jones has had a hell of a resurgence quarterbacking them so far this season, and obviously their all-pro running back Jonathan Taylor is always a threat, always has been, probably always will be. I think he's definitely the one to focus on this week, considering the Chargers are much stronger in pass defense than in run defense. But on the other hand, the Colts, they have their own issues in pass defense that I think that Justin Herbert will also be able to exploit. I think there is some potential for a shootout on Sunday, so that should be fun to watch. But on the other hand, if the defense does buckle down a little bit on the outside run, I also do think there is some potential for the Chargers to actually have a really big game and beat the Colts by a couple of scores. I know the Colts have had a really good season so far this year, but they've also played some teams that aren't really as good. The best 2 teams that the Colts have played this year are the Broncos and the Rams. They did beat the Broncos, but so did we. And the Rams actually beat them, and the Rams beat them at SoFi. So they've already had a loss coming into SoFi this year. I think let's make it 2 of them. And if the Chargers can go to 5-2, like I said, not a lot of griping to be had. Not all that griping we heard after the Commies game. We can turn that down if we can go out there and beat the Colts, and I think we got a really, really good shot. And that'll give us some really good momentum because we got a short week. We got the Vikings on Thursday right after that. I will be at both of these games. I can't wait. I will be posting content on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. Go ahead and follow us there at Bolts Cricket Podcast. And I will see you there on game day. I'm also going to do some film analysis on the outside run and some of the ongoing issues we've been seeing with the Chargers, maybe some of the blocking stuff as well, some of the run blocking with the tight ends as well, like I did a couple weeks ago. So be on the lookout for that. Follow us at Bolts Cricket Podcast on social media, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And with that, let's talk about some cricket.
Go, Chargers, go! Chargers, go! Go, go, go!
So, it's another week, and we have another ass whooping delivered to the West Indies by India. This time, though, it did take India the full 5 days to get it done, although West Indies did have to follow on. So, it wasn't super close, but they did get through 2 full innings. So that's, I guess, a more interesting match than previous. But West Indies is definitely going to have to pull one out of the hat if they're going to challenge India in the next test. Shubman Gill and Yashasvi Jaiswal both played massive innings for India. I think both of them went over 150. And John Campbell, I'd never heard of him. I think he's like 32 years old. Made a century for West Indies in India. So That's pretty cool. He'll always have that. So, good for you, John Campbell. And finally, also in the Indian subcontinent is the Women's One-Day International World Cup, where a bit of a shocker has taken place. The Indian men have had quite a lot of success. The Indian women, unfortunately, have fallen from grace a little bit. 2 losses from 2 since I spoke to you last. They went all out, lost all of their wickets in both of these matches, so potentially been batting a little bit too aggressive. It lost them only 1 ball against South Africa, but a full over against Australia. They did not get to bat because they lost their final wicket. So potentially some stuff to look at, get back to the drawing board a little bit there for the Indian women's team. Deepti Sharma and Harleen Deol both cooled off with the bat. Richa Ghosh, though, made 94, batting at number 8, which is pretty impressive. Smriti Mandana and Pratika Rawal got going against the Australians, but unfortunately for them, Elisa Healy made 142, blew everybody else out of the water, kind of on both teams. Just stunned on everybody, Elisa Healy. And Australia were able to take the victory by 3 wickets. South Africa, last seen getting bowled over by England, have completely reversed their fortunes. They are 3 wins from 3 since that happened. Laura Wolvaart, Captain Laura Wolvaart, and Chloe Tryon have both been starring for the South Africans. Tryon with both bat and ball. She's been making a lot of runs, taking a lot of wickets. Very impressive stuff. England, 3 wins from 3, but with the exception of South Africa, both of them were teams from the bottom 4. Nat Sciver-Brunt, though, we talked about her going in as having had so many issues against India. It caused marital troubles. No issues in India so far. Quite the opposite, in fact. Made 117 against Bangladesh and took 2 wickets. So Nat Sciver-Brunt is positively back. And the best of the bunch, as previously mentioned a little bit, the Australians. Previously, they had won their first match and gotten their second rained out. They are now 3 from 3 with that rain out for 7 points. They've had contributions up and down the order, hundreds from Beth Mooney, Ash Gardner, and as I previously mentioned, Elisa Healy. And Annabelle Sutherland is taking all the wickets. She had a 5-er versus India, taking tons of wickets, leads everybody in the tournament with 10 wickets, I believe. We actually had another washout today. That was Sri Lanka versus New Zealand. Unfortunately, the Women's ODI World Cup having some of the same issues with getting rained out that we saw in the IPL. We saw a lot of rainouts in the IPL, especially towards the end. So many matches having to get changed in between various cities and stadiums because weather patterns started to change once things went on too long. So, unfortunately, we've had couple of rainouts in the ODI World Cup, but hopefully Duckworth, Lewis, and Stern will be making less of an impact later in the tournament. I know I'd like to see that because tired of rainouts. And you know who else is tired of rainouts? Which is why he played his game today in a stadium that has a roof, is next week's guest, Mr. Shohei Ohtani, who texted me before we went on air and wants you to know that he is really excited to discuss the exploits of his fellow all-rounders in the Women's World Cup because he is really impressed with what he's seen from the likes of Deepti Sharma and Chloe Tryon and podcast protagonist, freedom fighter, Sneh Rana and Ash Gardner and Nat Sciver-Brunt. So, for Ariane Ori, Odafe Owe, and everybody else associated with the NFL's 407-7th team, my name is Nick Cates, and I'm saying, well...
I've got so much to say and so little time to say it. Great job, everybody. Who's got it better than us? Nobody!